Support comes from the Missouri Forest Products Association, providing more than 41,000 jobs in the production of wood pallets, railroad ties, white oak barrels, hardwood floors, and more. Details at choosewood.com.
From the St. Louis Public Radio Newsroom, this is The Gateway. It's Monday, March 30th. I'm Wayne Pratt. The city of St. Louis is implementing more safety measures to help slow the spread of coronavirus. It has closed several recreational facilities in city parks, including tennis, basketball, handball, and pickleball courts until at least April 22nd. The announcement comes on the same weekend as President Trump's decision to extend social distancing guidelines until at least the end of April. Missouri is trying to meet the demand for medical safety equipment for health workers and first responders. State officials say as of Saturday, roughly 187,000 N95 masks and another 64,000 surgical masks had been distributed since last Thursday. Workers at some St. Louis facilities have been worried about running out of the personal protective equipment. Missouri's Department of Health and Senior Services Director says the state is loosening testing guidelines. Randall Williams says local health providers will have more control to decide who is eligible for a COVID-19 test. Current guidelines from the Centers for Disease Control say anyone who has come into contact with an infected person and who shows symptoms may be tested. Here are the numbers. Missouri is reporting slightly more than 900 COVID-19 cases and 12 deaths. There are more than 330 positive test results in St. Louis County, nearly 100 in St. Louis. In Illinois, health officials report more than 4,500 cases, including a jump of more than 1,000 between Saturday and Sunday. There have been at least 65 deaths in the state. There are roughly 55 cases in the Metro East and 2 in Adams County. In just a few minutes, St. Louis Public Radio's Ryan Delaney answers some of the coronavirus questions listeners have submitted to our Curious Louis series. As we mentioned, more personal protection equipment for health workers and first responders is being distributed in Missouri. There is still a huge need for more gear to help professionals on the front lines of the coronavirus battle. St. Louis area trade groups are asking workers to donate personal protective equipment to medical workers. As St. Louis Public Radio's Sarah Fenton reports, those healthcare workers are concerned their supply of masks, gloves, and other gear will run out.
A surge in global demand has many frontline medical workers worried they won't have equipment to keep from contracting COVID-19 from sick patients. But carpenters, chemists, and construction workers use that same equipment for their jobs. Many companies have stockpiles of gear such as N95 masks, which filter out particles and keep workers safe from inhaling the virus. Patrick White is president of the Greater St. Louis Labor Council. He's asked contractors to donate supplies, which he will distribute to the nurses union at St. Louis University Hospital.
If we can get it to the folks that need it, get it to the folks that are protecting us, then we're protecting them and keeping them there on the front line.
Chemists and other lab workers have donated their supplies to medical schools in the region. I'm Sarah Fenton, St. Louis Public Radio.
2 police officers in St. Louis and 1 in St. Louis County have tested positive for the coronavirus. Police officials made those announcements over the weekend. Union leadership says one of the officers from the city has been admitted to a local hospital in serious condition. More than 12 others in the department's traffic unit are quarantined. The St. Louis County officer who tested positive is now in isolation. As COVID-19 cases mount in Illinois, Governor J.B. Pritzker says the state plans to increase testing in the coming days. More on that from reporter Sean Crawford.
Pritzker, in a news briefing Sunday, pointed out Illinois is averaging about 4,000 tests administered per day. In the next week and a half, the governor expects that number will rise to 10,000.
Even though we've moved past the point of pure containment, it remains a priority to further build our testing abilities, in part to understand the presence and spread of COVID-19 across the state.
Pritzker says the ultimate goal is to get everyone a test who needs one. He again blamed the federal government for delays in getting enough tests to states like Illinois, but he says there are positive developments, including Illinois-based Abbott Labs ramping up production on a newly approved 5-minute coronavirus test. I'm Sean Crawford.
Lawmakers in Missouri were originally slated to be back in Jefferson City this week, but the coronavirus has left their return up in the air. St. Louis Public Radio's Jacqueline Driscoll reports the Senate still needs to vote on the supplemental budget for the state to receive emergency funds to fight the pandemic.
Before the House adjourned, they approved the supplemental budget that includes $40 million in federal and state funds to help fight COVID-19. But after a House member was diagnosed with the virus, Governor Mike Parson shut the Capitol down until April 6th. He says a vote is still a priority, but he's not sure when it'll happen.
It's crucial we get that supplemental done, and that drop dead date, I would say, would be April the 24th. So we have to get it done before that.
The governor says he spoke to leadership, and they will try to come back to Jefferson City in early April to approve the plan. Members also still need to approve the state's $30 billion budget before May 8th. In Jefferson City, I'm Jacqueline Driscoll, St. Louis Public Radio.
Listeners are sending plenty of questions about coronavirus and what they can do while under stay-at-home orders into our Curious Louis series. I spoke with St. Louis Public Radio reporter Ryan Delaney, who tracked down some answers.
We're back with more answers to the many, many Curious Louis questions we've been getting. Wayne, you've sifted through them all. What's first?
Ryan, while many businesses have shut down, others are still considered essential. We've received plenty of questions from people who are not sure if they should still be working. So can you explain essential?
Right. Well, there's a lot of ambiguity, in part because the response to this is so ad hoc and different communities are under different orders. The definition of essential in these stay-at-home orders is also really broad. In St. Louis, it includes things you'd expect, like facilities for healthcare and childcare, grocery stores and banks, ride-sharing, construction, professional services such as law firms are all exempt from the rules.
What can people do if they don't think they are classified as essential but are still being asked to work?
A workers' rights lawyer told us that employees can find loopholes, but legal action could be possible if an employee could prove they are not essential to the business. You can also call the police if a business is violating the order. Workers' rights groups recommend contacting your local prosecutor or city council member and getting email or text proof of your employer's demands. But if you live in St. Charles County, that may be a little more difficult. The county executive's guidance lets businesses decide for themselves whether they are essential or not. And non-essential businesses are also still allowed to keep up with basic functions like payroll, health insurance filings, and security patrols.
Plenty of questions have come in about what movement is allowed. For instance, a person in St. Charles wants to know, can she go to her grandchildren's residence in St. Louis County to babysit?
Yeah, there are plenty of exceptions to the stay-at-home orders. You can still go to the grocery store, pharmacy, hospital, laundromat, and public parks, and you can pick up food from restaurants. Travel and care for family members, young or old, is also allowed, but this should only be essential and should be limited. Grandma's movie night with the grandkids should be canceled. You are allowed to cross state lines from Missouri to Illinois, for example, for basic necessities and essential business, but trips just for fun should be postponed.
There are a lot of questions about houses. Can I buy or sell one while the stay-at-home order is in effect? Do repair, landscaping, or building services count as essential?
Yeah, this is really interesting. Home sales and real estate transactions can continue under the order. And the Real Estate Association here says there's been a rush to wrap up sales, though new listings are few. While your realtor can still work under the order, some other elements of buying or selling a home, such as inspections, might not be possible right now. Hardware stores are allowed to remain open, so you can buy supplies for home repair. But again, if you're looking to hire someone to help you out, that might be tough right now.
Are tax preparation businesses allowed to stay open now that the tax return deadline has been extended to July 15th?
Yeah, luckily for procrastinators, federal and the Missouri and Illinois state income tax deadlines have been extended. In Illinois, state tax offices are closed right now, but financial services, such as accountants and banks, can still be open if you need help with your taxes.
That was my conversation with St. Louis Public Radio colleague Ryan Delaney, and we have more answers to your Curious Louis questions on our website, stlpublicradio.org. Our Maria Altman edited that report. Shula Newman is the executive editor of St. Louis Public Radio. Music by Ryan McNeely of Adult Fur. I'm Wayne Pratt from the St. Louis Public Radio Newsroom. This has been The Gateway.
Support comes from the Missouri Forest Products Association, committed to conservation and careful management of the state's forests to make them more resilient and better habitats for wildlife. ChooseWood.com.